All right, good. Let's jump in. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So, welcome back.
Thank
We're
you.
so excited
We're
that
so
you're back.
excited to be back.
And Flat
Wait.
Trisha, out of here because we've got the real thing.
I was made for this. I was made for this. I was made for this.
Trisha, tell us how your trip was.
There was a couple situations.
There were a couple unexpected things, like lots and lots of rain, like torrential rain in California. Who'd have thunk? I heard like washouts and roads closed, and we had detours. We got a flat tire in the middle of the night on a switchback with no cell service in a rental. And it was a really nice rental. It was a sports car that I rented.
Ooh, is
for
that
Scott.
the one that you sent the picture?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
red, right?
no, blue. Like
It was
this
blue.
blue.
Okay.
It was.
I know.
I know.
It was.
And so we had that.
Scott
flat
looked
tire,
pretty
but
happy to be standing next to it.
I am so thankful that he knew how to fix it. There was no tire. It was this, you throw in some goo, drive it for 5 miles on F50, and then throw in the air, and then you're good. But anyway, so that was a little trying. I had some kind of intestinal something, and my daughter and her little one were sick. So we had that, but we saw whales. We saw the Hearst Castle. We had some wineries, some breweries. Nice. I ate my fair share of clam chowder, like local clam chowder.
Oh.
And I became a connoisseur and went back for seconds to my favorite one.
Nice.
That might have been part of the, I don't know. you know, I am an all in. Like,
Yep. Yep.
eclectic, but fun. Good. But I missed you, and I watched some of your teasers and sent
We
you lots
found
of
ourselves quite hilarious. There were some moments. Did you watch the crime video?
Yes.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
that was hilarious. I
watch it when I'm having a bad moment. Yes.
can't, it was like coming in the middle of a conversation. I'm like, where are they going? And
Nowhere.
And what is this
we weren't.
about?
That
And
was
it
in the middle
hilarious.
of the
And
podcast. I don't even know how we got on that
You know how
tangent.
you laugh and you start snorting?
Yes.
I was snorting.
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
I love it.
Okay.
I was talking to women last night about our podcast, and I was like, I'm just gonna tell you ahead of time. I'm like, we are not super professional. I'm like, it's just like sitting around
what?
having a
Wait.
conversation. I'm like, and you just get to watch us have it, you know? And they're like, oh, I love that. I would totally watch that. I'm like, yeah, well, that's pretty much.
nothing's scripted.
You mean there's cameras? What?
Oh, wait. We have one thing scripted.
We do, our intro,
Yeah.
which we got mocked on a comment, which I thought was hilarious. They don't even know how to do their intro. And I was like, thank you for watching. We do know how to do our intro. We just like to show you the outtakes. The most recent one was hilarious. I was like, this doesn't even make any sense. It was like 4 words put together with like laughing faces emojis. And then it said something about women and theory and different and another word. It didn't go together at all. And I just kind of looked at that and I was like, oh, you just upped our views. Thank you. I appreciate you. So anyways, I'm so excited for today. I've been looking forward to this one for a while because
It's going to be good.
we get to talk about our lives and who we are and as moms. You know,
Mortifying mom
the
moments.
mortifying mom moments, the real nitty gritty stuff. And so my goal is for people, like for women that are not moms yet, to know like this is what's coming. You know, also for
This
those
is what
new
you
moms
are going to sign up for.
right. But like, imagine the new moms. I remember we went home from the hospital and I was like, they didn't give us a manual. Like we actually pulled over to the side of the road and we just looked at each other and we're like, and now what do we do? So
Well, yeah.
yeah. So I'm looking forward to like new moms hearing it and going, oh, I'm not the only one.
Right,
You know?
right.
And then moms of, you know, younger ones and teens and beyond, just knowing that
Grandmoms.
you are not sitting in your house with peanut butter in your hair alone. Like We used to throw like diapers and a wipe in our back pocket, you know?
and I pick up the passy and lick it off. And
No.
Yes.
good to go.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. You know, and even like, so even
We know
later
what our
on,
essentials are.
you know-
Diaper, passy.
Yes. But even like how we raise our teenagers, you know, the first one we're like, oh, we probably shouldn't let them do certain things. And by the last one, we're like, oh yeah, you're kind of young still, aren't you? You know, and I just had that this week because Addison just turned 14, right? So when she was 13, I didn't let her do certain things, but at 14, I did. And so like the boys were watching something the other day, and I was like, your sister's fine. I'm like, she's 14. She can listen to this now. And she comes in and she's like, so last week, like when I was 13, I couldn't, but this week when I'm 14, because I'm so different, now I can. And I was like, yes,
That's hilarious.
yes, by all parenting means yes. You know?
That's awesome. I had to text
Questionable?
my kids. So I put out a text and said, all right, everybody, start giving me the mortifying mom moments because I have a bad memory. You know, we go to this conference, we get a call from our neighbor. So we go down to Chicago for this conference. So we're a time zone away, honestly. I mean, you know, as a
Right.
mom, I'm thinking we're a time zone away from our kids. That psychologically
so much
meant, yeah. So that was kind of just reality. And we left our kids with a very mature high schooler.
Okay.
Very mature high schooler, had no problem. She said, can I bring my sister in because I want to train her? I'm like, yes, reinforcements. This is awesome. So we're there. I think it was like day 2. We get a call from our neighbor right next door. So it's our house, driveway, neighborhood. We're living in the Burton Heights area of Grand Rapids, if you're familiar with that area. And he says, your girls are hanging out the window right now and can't get back into the house. Now, mind you, Aaron,
Physically hanging out the window.
we have a 3-story house. A 3-story house. It looked like a barn. And my girls,
Time zone away.
and I'm time zone away, and my neighbor says, your girls are hanging out the window of the house and they can't get back in. My heart is about to come out of my chest. And I'm like, what do you mean they're hanging? Well, we had one of those rescue ladders
Yes.
that you would
Oh,
normally, as
yep.
a responsible parent, make sure you have in the 3rd floor.
And we have one.
room
We have one.
in
Yep.
case. My girls decided that they were going to train for a fire escape. And they convinced the babysitter. Oh no, my mom and dad, they want us to practice
We do these
this.
weekly.
Yeah, we have weekly drills. So they do. They roll the whole thing down and they get out and then they look down and they paralyzed. They
my
feared.
goodness.
Yeah. And all there is cement. Like I'm picturing this in my head. If they fall, what do you mean they're hanging on? What are they hanging on to? You know, kind of thing. What are you doing on the phone and not underneath,
Right?
with this
Why is
giant-
the fire department not
Right?
here yet?
He
Have a
was
trampoline, something. So
he thought we were the most irresponsible parents ever. And how do you scold your kids for doing something so creative?
And semi-responsible training
Some-
for
they
a
were
fire.
training.
They were training.
I mean, they may have convinced the babysitter that. Did you keep?
I have to
that-
know, how
you-
did they get back in the house?
The babysitter had to literally grab their, and yeah, it took a while. Yeah.
So when
All
you were
right.
telling the story about your girls hanging out the window, it made me think of when my oldest he was not even he was not even 2 yet. And I was sitting outside. I had just had Logan, and so I'm sitting outside nursing Logan, and it's this nice day. And he was obsessed with Spider-Man. And so he was in full Spider-Man garb, like mask, the whole outfit, the shoes, everything. Well, he was a very active 1-year-old, and so he was climbing trees. And so we had these giant pine trees in our next door neighbor's house that were literally as tall as their house. And so I'm out there as a relatively new mom, and I'm nursing Logan, and I'm watching Alex climb and
no.
climb
Oh no.
and climb, and I'm like, oh, okay, he really
There
should
is a
come
point
down
of no
soon at
return,
this
right?
point, you
Yeah.
know. He gets up to about the 2nd story window height of our next door neighbor's house, and he falls, right? So I'm like I'm nursing Logan. I'm sitting on the ground. I'm like, what do I do? And I just am watching this blue and red go all the way down. He gets hung up by his ankle on the bottom.
Thank God.
Not a scratch on him. Wow. And I'm like freaking out.
Yeah.
Like my child is just falling out of the tree. What am I doing? And I get over to him and he's like, can I do that again? And I'm
was
like,
fun, Mom.
no, you're good. As I'm just picturing like just all the way down. Yeah. Yep. I learned how to nurse on the run a lot.
Oh, now all the stories. They literally live down by that pond
Okay.
and just catching frogs and all that kind of stuff. He came walking up one day, the boys did, number 5 and number 6.
I love
and they've
that
got
we
this.
both do that.
So both of them are Marines now. They both have survived. They
Made 'em
come up
tough.
and they have this bucket and they walk in the house and I'm like, usually it's like tadpoles and stuff. It's like this happens and I'm used to it. No big
I'm
deal.
already crawling.
Oh, get ready. Get ready. So I can remember I'm in the kitchen and I'm by the sink and they're so excited. Mom, look. And they go to run and they knock the bucket over. They had found a nest of baby snakes that had just hatched. And this bucket had all kinds of them in it. And I now have snakes
no.
going in every direction
scattered.
in our house, which was almost
Nope.
2,600 square feet of house. And I'm like, from the top of my table, I'm like, the only thing, saving grace is, Tristan, how many snakes? Because he always counted.
So you
He
knew how
knew.
many you
And I'm like,
needed to find.
Nobody goes to sleep until that many snakes are found. They were everywhere. We always had frogs in
That
the
just, like,
I
makes me
know,
just,
why
like,
frogs,
it's so creepy.
frogs in the dryer, and I'm like, why do I have dried up dead frogs in my dryer? He goes, those are my friends, and I put them in my pockets, and I'm like,
Oh, the adventures that little boys have in their pockets. Like they have
Yeah.
like sand and rocks
Yeah.
and cars and who knows what else.
frogs, toads, yeah, snakes. Oh, Tristan, the same number 5. He comes running up, his arm like that, and there's blood just running, and that was a panic because I knew there's a huge snapping turtle in the pond.
Oh no.
So I'm like, we're missing fingers, or I mean, it was big enough, and he was small enough that it could have been a good chunk of hand. Had all his fingers, and I'm like, okay, what happened? He goes, I found a snake, and he should have been my friend, but then he just started biting me, and he had like 5 different bites that were just bleeding all over.
No.
Me, I'm just like cleaning them up. Like, okay, there's one poisonous snake in the state of Michigan, and it's very unlikely that's poison. But let's call
crime?
and
White on black, da 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 da.
all
Yellow
the,
on,
I'm
yeah,
going through
yeah.
all this stuff, and so I'm just calling just to make sure
black.
that I'm handling this. Sent my oldest out because he's like, "Oh, this snake gets down by the horse barn. It's right here." My child comes back, she's like, "Mom, this snake is almost 6 feet long. The thing
my
is
word.
huge."
Not your
And
friend.
aggressive, because apparently when I'm talking to the people, they're like, "Oh, it's mating season." They get a little aggressive.
Oh, that might be territorial, you think? So was it black and yellow or yellow? What is that rule? Do you know that rule?
So it's
Something.
it's something.
You
Yeah,
gotta
it
know it.
wasn't.
You gotta know it.
wasn't
In the
one
book
of
Holes,
those.
it was
and
yellow spotted lizards.
it
That's
was.
all I know.
Oh yeah. So not a poisonous thing, but just bacteria. Wash it
Yeah.
out real good. His tears were not because he was scared or anything. It's like
thought
it
it was his
my friend, and he kept
Oh,
biting
his feelings
me.
were hurt,
He
like-
was devastated.
Oh, that's so sweet. I
So,
love kids'
I
hearts.
know.
My
Oh my
oldest
gosh.
daughter, Mary Beth, was like, snakes didn't bother her a bit. And
None.
I'm
Oh,
like,
my
this is
kids
ungodly.
loved. No, they
This is
loved them.
This is not a
all.
good sign. How,
I had to hold one time. Like a
I'll
like a
hold
large,
them.
like you know the things you do for your children.
Oh.
And I went to a very good friend of ours' son's birthday party, and my sons were there too. They were all the same age, and it was at one of those really fun, exciting, pet the really creepy creature places, and they were like, "All the moms, come on up. We're gonna have you hold this giant snake." And I'm not kidding. The snake's
Big
body
around.
was at least that big around. And I can still like feel
Yeah.
it on my
Yeah.
like they have
See,
pictures of this.
I don't.
was
I don't mind
probably
snakes. I don't
15
want
at
baby
least
ones in
15
my
years
house.
ago.
But oh,
I think I'm going to have willies the rest of the day.
I know, right? I'm like, I need to like, woo,
know.
get rid of them. Yep.
All right. Question.
Yes.
With all of our kiddos, how many kids have we left behind somewhere? Like forgotten? like driven away, and
Well-
went,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it
I got a
both the
ca- I
boys
got
or
a
just
call.
one boy at the wedding? It was both. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go like this too.
Yeah. I had the calls like,
Yep.
got all your kids? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, are you sure?
Did you do a head count?
I'm like, not anymore. And then all of a sudden comes daughter number 3. Mom, I was watching you and you kept going. But I
Yes.
forgot her at Post Family Farm where I worked as a tour guide and drove the team of horses and did sleigh rides and
Nice.
hay
So fun.
rides. And my kids all came to work with me, and it was a long day of school tours. And you just assume everybody got in the van.
Yeah,
Apparently,
you
they,
just
assume.
apparently it doesn't always go that way.
Sometimes
so
you assume that, like one spouse has them and the other spouse
Right.
assumes that the other spouse has them,
Yes.
and then neither one of you have them, and
have
they've
you ever
gotten
left
left
one
at a wedding.
on purpose?
No. Thought about it. I did? Who did I leave? I left him on purpose?
To teach them a lesson, maybe.
Oh, well, that's a little different. That's kicking him out of the car and then driving away.
That's called first day of kindergarten, right?
I was like, oh, you may walk from here.
Yes.
I'm done now.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
And then he called his dad to go pick him up.
I was looking at my phone because out of all 7 kids, 4 of them came in and said, I was left at church. I was left at Walmart. And then I'm like, holy Hannah. No wonder they're messed up.
and we love them all. I love all of you.
That's why I stopped at 3.
All of
So
you.
I wouldn't forget them. Just kidding.
Well, as soon as they outnumber the number of hands that you have, things get a little squirrely sometimes. They can get away from you.
Yep.
I'm just going to claim that.
But I do remember one time that we said it's time to go. Like, because we were talkers at church. Imagine that. We were just talkers. And so we would sit around and this was a really fun thing. We had this little Galewood Gospel Chapel church that we loved. And we would do lunch. We'd bring a dish to pass.
Yep.
And we'd all have lunch. And it was just the best community, the best fellowship. And our kids would be off outside playing. I mean, it was just fun. And I didn't have to worry about where they were. But when it's time to go, it's time to go.
Yes.
And you tell them, got 10 minutes or whatever. I always did the 15, 10, 5. All right, we're gearing up. We're walking out. And I had to train them that way because that many kids, I would never get anywhere. And I already struggled
Yeah,
getting.
when you have that many
I had a
children, there
husband who
has to
hated
be a-
being late, and I was notorious for it. But it wasn't my fault,
You had a couple ducklings behind you.
right?
Just a
You gotta
couple
herd
things.
those cats. It takes time.
Oh, and
but
they're
I do
everywhere.
remember the one child who will remain nameless. No. And we said it's time to go, and I just said, "All right, we are out, and I don't care. We're leaving." And everybody's, "Mom, Mom!" I'm like, "No, we are going."
We're going.
And so I pulled out, and I'm watching in the rearview mirror, like, is she coming out? Is she coming out? She didn't. And so I thought, all right, we're going to go
right.
around the neighborhood. And we did. We
Yes.
just drove around the block several
Yep.
times until she sat there for a good hot minute crying. And then I pulled in.
She probably never did that again, did
Never
she?
did it again.
Yep.
I don't know if that was a mortifying moment other than people probably judging me saying, how could she leave her child behind? We're talking about mortifying mom moments that are funny.
Yes.
But then there are the mortifying mom moments of like what God just laid on my heart, pulling in here is when I totally lost it on my kids.
Oh, yeah.
Totally
I've been
lost
there.
it. Like
But
I
I
thought I
feel-
had it
I-
all together. I thought you had like you heard my voice the first time. You heard my expectations. You know what I needed you to do, but then it
Yes.
falls on deaf ears. It falls on deaf ears. It's delayed. And finally I raised my voice. And then I am like,
Yeah.
and then I just
It's
am like,
mortifying.
what did I just do to the heart of my kids? I know. And to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is not who I am. This is not who
Right.
I want to be. This is not what they deserved.
So can we
So
agree
how do
that like
we get-
every mom goes through that moment?
Yeah.
Every mom
Absolutely.
has the moments of,
Mortifying.
Yes.
oh my gosh, I can't believe that I did that.
Yeah. New mom of precious
grace.
baby, you are going to fail in parenting. And I
Many
promise
times.
you, it's okay.
It is. And that's just it, you know, and I think as moms, because we've talked about this in other episodes, you know, the expectations that we put on ourselves as moms. But I love learning to have grace and learning, and your parenting
Oh,
style
yes.
changes, you know, you learn as you go. And I love, my oldest said that one time, and it was such a profound moment. He said, while we were growing up as kids, he's like, you guys were growing up too. Like
Yes.
right along, he goes, I got to watch you guys grow up just like
Isn't
you
it
watched us.
remarkable to have adult
I'm like,
conversations?
oh my gosh, it was profound to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, he watched us go from somebody in our 20s to somebody in our 40s, and
Yes.
we're totally different people than we were.
Completely different.
I mean, I'm a different mom than I was even prior to, like, with the whole COVID shutdown and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of those moms that was like, you know, I have to have everything, like certain expectations, and I kind of threw all that out the window when life shut down and the world shut down and nothing was as it was. And I'm watching my kids go through, you know, elementary school and also in high school at the time. And I'm like, okay, so everything that I used to care about, no longer do I care about. And it has made me a better parent in so many ways. Things that used to just be little annoyances that shouldn't have bothered me.
Right.
And I would make such a big deal. And the kids were like walking on eggshells because I was like, well, you know, and like my kids and I have grown closer together because of it, because I've
Yes.
been able to lay down those expectations and I've been able to see them as flawed humans and they can see me as a flawed human. And then we live so much better in harmony in that way.
Yes.
But, you know, even with your different kids, you know, I treated my older son different than I treated my middle son, even though they're only 21 months apart, because I learned with my older son, well, that didn't work. You know, like for instance, when you are parenting a teenager, you may not be a teenager yourself. Just, I know, drop the mic moment, right? I like to jump into my 16-year-old self. I like, woo, you know, and then it's like this all-out World War 72.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
Somebody's
wait
got
a
to
minute.
be the parent.
Yes.
I guess I have to be the adult because I am the adult, you know? Like that's really what it is.
Yes.
And so I approached parenting through the teenage boy years with my second son
Yes,
very
very
differently,
different.
remembering that I was the adult,
Yes.
which was good.
Be a parent, not their friend. They have tons of friends. They really need
Yes.
mom.
And dialogue, talking to them,
Yes.
having conversations is so much more important than me assuming that they have done this because of whatever. They did this because they hate me. You know, they did this to make me upset. No, they didn't. They did it
No.
because they're teenagers and
They're
their brains are
kids.
not fully functioned and they're not
they're
making great
hormonal.
choices.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, that's
you know,
right. I did some. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did some teenage stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that aspect of it, you know, that I felt like it wasn't too late. Like I was able
Yes.
to change those ways
Yes.
before they were completely out of the house. And I was like, oh, I should have
am
done that
glad.
differently.
And I
you know?
honestly think if you don't have mortifying moments, then you kind of start getting a little puffed up and
Yes.
a little, you know.
Oh, I know. I used to
full,
thought I was like
full
the best
bag of
parent in
chips.
the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. With my girls in their pleather pants as they're sweating, I thought I was, man,
Mom
I
of the
am
year
like,
over here.
I know, and I did. I walked in like, yeah, I know, we look amazing, don't we? Meanwhile, they're like sweating and chafing, and
They have to
they're-
pee.
Yeah, and they have to pee, and yeah. But I think to your point, I think we do become better when we embrace our
Yes.
humanity,
Yes.
and humble ourselves. Because I agree with you that, and I may have said this on the last, I don't know. I have a small group women's Bible study, so I don't know if I'm being redundant and said it here, but since the house fires, you know, our house blew up on the precipice of COVID.
I'm sorry. Every time you say that, I'm just like want to laugh because I'm like, there's a difference between a house fire and my house blew up.
Right.
I
It
had a
concussed.
house fire.
Yes.
Mine did not blow
No,
up.
it
so
was
they're
gas.
different.
It was a gas, and it imploded. And
I've seen
and it was on
that.
the weekend of our daughter's wedding
Oh,
and our other daughter's baby shower.
Of
and it
course.
and they all arrived a half hour after it happened. We were going to have like 10 people. So, that moment,
it's not
that
funny,
was a
but
defining moment in my spiritual walk.
Wow.
And in my maturity because of everything that occurred after. Like, not, how sometimes you are a rock star getting through the crisis?
Yep.
I think God gave me grace to get through that whole weekend and maybe a couple days after that. And then
it hit. I can't imagine.
And then lockdown, and then no socialization. So I know this is hard to believe, but I am a very socialized. I need socialization.
We do believe that.
I need that is crucial.
I didn't see that at all.
my
She doesn't
mental
like
health.
people.
And I just went through a week of staying at home. We got back from California. My husband was sick. I had stuff to make up on, from being gone for so long. And I'm putting together trips for people, which you ever get into that space where you lose all sense of time and like what
Oh,
day,
yeah.
like, oh my word, I haven't eaten all day. It's
Yes.
been one of those weeks. But I was so excited to come today because I was going to be with the people. I was going to be with my friends. I get to share. And now I feel like I'm just gushing with all kinds of enthusiasm and excitement and energy.
I love that.
But at the same time, I'm realizing that in that moment of quietness, of shutdown, of grief, of isolation, insulation, like it did not do my heart well at all. Emotional health, like, whoosh, and I became somebody I never thought I would ever become as a believer. Like, I know what it's like to not be saved. This was worse than not being saved. I'm just going to say, like, I gave up. I became suicidal. I became hopeless. I was despairing. I was angry. I was vulgar. I was not anything.
I've had those moments.
And
Been there.
and you know what?
recently.
Had I not gone through that, had I not had those mortifying moments,
Right.
those are mortifying. Only a few people know about it. Well, now y'all know about it.
Hello.
Because that's who we are right now.
Yep.
Oh, is this
Unfiltered,
going out on
real.
that internet thing?
The interwebs.
And it's not because I'm bragging or proud of it. I'm
Right.
not. But I've been forgiven. I am healed. I am whole.
You're not
I
ashamed of
am
it.
a person I never would have been
Without it.
had I not. I am not who I am in spite of, but because of.
Yes.
And the freedom and the wisdom, the perspective, you ever take that big cleansing breath and say, wow, this
Yes.
is not all about me anymore. In this moment of this intimate invitation to go through a mortifying moment, start journaling. What am I getting from it? Who am I becoming because of it? What can I offer on the other side of this?
It took me a while in
it
those
does
moments,
take a
though,
while.
to get to that point.
Yeah.
But there's great benefit in it, in getting you to start drawing out of that pit, because you have to reach a point, I believe, eventually where you're telling yourself that I want to get out of it, because I got comfortable in that pit.
It's your familiar zone.
I understood all of this.
Yeah.
This is my comfort. I wore grief and
I
shame
wear
and
mortification.
pain. It's just I was comfortable there. I don't know that world up outside of that pit. So it's a brave thing to say, I'm going out there
Yeah.
anyways. I'm going to take some of the pit mud with me, though, because
Probably.
I'm comfortable.
Because it sticks.
It does, and it's comfortable, and it's familiar. It's like that security blanket, and I hung on to that stuff. And because, I've had a lot of moments that aren't stellar and aren't great, and they weren't fun, and I've had hard times that my kids have had to go with. I mean, they've been on a roller coaster of a journey that they didn't deserve to go on. And they grew up with me. I mean, I was 27 years old with 4 kids and suddenly trying to survive. That's a kid. I think 27 now, I'm like,
Right?
it boggles my mind, but the hard times are going to come in life. There's just no avoiding
You
it.
are
but
a living letter for everyone to read
Yes.
now because you didn't give up. You didn't. Failure is not falling and blowing it and having mortifying moments or any. Failure is quitting and saying, I'm
getting back up.
defined by
Yeah.
this.
Sitting
This
there
is
with it.
who I am. I'm the victim, not my fault. It's, that's failure. And that does nobody any good at all.
especially not you if you're the one
Yeah,
sitting there
exactly.
with it. The only one hurting is
Is
you.
you. Yeah.
And it just gets darker and the pit gets bigger. You might have more space and room down there.
Because everybody
it's-
leaves, they're done.
I know. And that's exactly
Your
it.
pity party is
It's
breaking up.
lonely down there because it's icky down
Yeah.
there. People
Yeah.
don't want to be in it.
No, they get-
People didn't want to be around me when I was in that pit.
Yeah.
Because it enveloped me. It was like,
Oh, are you
Are you having wardrobe issues?
That
Yep.
is so cute.
So contagious, I know.
yeah, it was like there was a darkness
Yeah.
that just came with me everywhere. It was sobering. It was sad. It was depressing. People aren't drawn to
And
that.
the eyes are the window to the soul. So as soon as they see that, they're like, oh,
They just, it's just,
I can't deal with that.
and I
So
can't blame
on
'em.
that topic, what about, let's wrap up
Yes.
our episode with the moms that might be going through postpartum depression and don't know it. I had it really bad with my oldest, and I had to be told that I had it. I didn't know, and then I was more prepared for it with my second
Okay.
two because I have had depression most of my life, so it did come up.
Okay.
But what about the moms of the toddlers that are exhausted and they are touched all the time? Their children are on them constantly,
questions.
and they just need
Lies. Yeah.
but they're in their bathrooms crying because they just need a moment, or they feel like failures, or the moms of the teenagers that are just scratching their heads going, why do they hate me so much? I just breathed. That's all I did. How can we help the moms? And that will kind of be where we'll end this,
Okay.
land this one. What words of encouragement that we can share with moms that are in those different circumstances?
Oh, I am not going to say that it's easy. I'm going to be the last one to say that it's easy because it's not, and it's hard. And I want you to hear me recognize that it is hard. It's not something you should just snap out of, get over, or not be affected by. It is hard to be a human being that has these little lives depending on you for everything 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, day in, day out. You don't get a vacation from that. You don't get a vacation from being mom. You just don't.
There's no punch. There's no clock to punch out.
And they are always there and they always need something. What I'm realizing now at this phase in my life, no matter what it takes, you absolutely have to prioritize a self-care time for yourself.
Thank you.
It
I'm
is
so glad you said that.
not selfish. It is a gift to your family, to your children, and especially you. Your relationship with your husband, if you have one, your relationship with your children, with your friends, and most importantly, the relationship that you have with you will be nurtured and built and restored in that moment. And that self-care time is not you get to go to the grocery store without a child. That's not self-care. It's not.
And you have to say, this is what I need.
Yes.
You have to say those words because it will make you a better person. It will make you a better mom. It will make you a better wife. You can't give from an empty bucket.
You
if
can't.
you're constantly giving and never replenishing and refilling and all of that. So take that time, budget
Right.
it in, figure it
You
out.
have
you know,
to.
even if it's just going outside and taking your shoes off and standing in the grass, you know,
Absolutely.
whatever it is
I've done that.
it looks like, right? You know, I mean, just those moments are just like a bath or something.
in the bathroom and I can only have 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, and, you know, and you do that.
Yes.
We've all been in the bathroom with the little fingers
Absolutely.
under
Yeah.
the door, you know, and you're
And
like,
they're-
I'm not
oh,
done peeing yet.
Yeah, no,
But-
it's going to be, I'm going to be in here for a while.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad that you said
I think the
self-care.
balance with, or what I'm going to piggyback on that with
Yes.
is the boundary thing, like establishing boundaries with your kids. So I loved Susan Wesley's story. She had 21 kids, and so she had this. She put an apron over her head when she needed mom time.
I
a
love
signal.
And
that.
it was a signal to all the kids. When the apron is over my head, I'm not available. I think if we were to explain to our children and not be sad because we are sending them to their room
Right.
to have some quiet time themselves, mommy needs to recharge. Just explain it, schedule
Model it.
model it,
Right.
and follow through. But enlisting other people, enlisting your, you know, we're not called princess warriors for nothing. It is a battle.
Yeah.
And we are going to have scars and we're going to feel exhausted.
Yes.
Right.
But if we can be gracious to one another, come alongside. I love Moms in Touch. I love Moms of Preschoolers. I love these pods of small groups. And now, here's the other thing I want to say. If you are not mentoring scratch that.
Stick.
My mug and I were just, it's coming along real well. So,
Doesn't
Yes.
give me any backwash.
no, none at all. No.
If we are not mentoring someone and if we are not being mentored. So I'm thinking 10 to 15 years your junior and 10 to 15 years your senior. That's crucial.
And if
That
you
is
can't
so
leave your
crucial.
house to do a group like that, find a podcast, find a program,
Something.
find something that you can plug into, you know. And we're going to run out of time, so I just want to end us with this. You are not alone. I want you to
No.
know that. That is so
No.
important to me to tell you that. Because in my darkest moments as a mom, I thought, I'm the only one that feels this way. I am failing at everything I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing. You are not alone.
You
are among all of the other moms
Every
that also
mom.
feel like they're alone. But I
We don't
just
have
want
a
you to know
hotline,
that you're not.
But we have a link. So click on the link, make a comment, reach out to
And
us.
ask
Yes.
questions. There's no dumb questions.
Private message
ever,
us, whatever needs.
ever.
Yeah.
So we love you
Yes.
guys.
Love
We're
you.
so excited for you. Just be momming to death. It's awesome.
Yes.
It's
Hug
so
and
fun.
kiss
And
those
embrace
kiddos.
those mortifying moments. They build character, and you're going to have something to tell your kids when they.
They make really
Get
good
old.
stories for later.
And you'll get to be my age and you're actually going to miss those
The
days.
mortifying moments.
I miss every bit of it. All of it.
Wow,
the
that's
fighting,
it.
the squabbling, the snake bucket, all of it. I would
Bucket. You could do without the snake bucket.
I
was
would take
just-
it off.
I was just done with my willies.